everyone, and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics on Channel Television. I'm Sean Wakimbaloye in Lagos, Nigeria. It came as a rude shock to a lot who have invested in cryptocurrency when the Central Bank of Nigeria came up with a directive restricting banks from trading with such currencies. The CBN directed banks in the country to close all cryptocurrency-related accounts. The regulator prohibited all financial institutions from facilitating cryptocurrency payments in the country. This directive is contained in a letter addressed to all deposit money banks, non-bank financial institutions, and other financial institutions on Friday. According to the letter, Payments System of Management Department, the Apex Bank, directed all DMBs, NBFIs, and OFIs should identify persons and entities transacting in or operating cryptocurrency exchanges within their systems to close such accounts immediately. But what does this mean to the larger Nigerian economy, or the pockets of the average Nigerian, or those who have made investments in it? Because I know it's not a lot of Nigerians who have made, a lot of have, but not all Nigerians have made investments in it. But some reactions have followed that directive. One of the popular ones is that of the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar. And part of the statement he released over the weekend, and let me quote part of that statement for you. It says, quote, already the nation suffered severe economic losses from the border closure and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is definitely the wrong time to introduce policies that will restrict the inflow of capital into Nigeria, and I urge that a policy to prohibit the dealing and transaction of cryptocurrencies are revisited. End of quote. Those are the words of Abubakar Atiku, a former vice president. We'd like to make sense of the directive of the Central Bank of Nigeria, especially its implications on the Nigerian economy. So tonight, we have a former deputy governor of the Central Bank, a lawyer, a political economist, and he was a presidential candidate in the 2019 presidential election. He's currently United Nations Special Envoy on post-COVID development finance for Africa. Professor Kingsley Hualu joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you, Professor, for joining us tonight on the program. And perhaps let's get a sense of your reaction when you heard. And I'm very sure that being a financial expert yourself, you may have some money in Bitcoin or in cryptocurrency too. But how did this come to you when you heard on Friday that the CBN is restricting Nigerian banks from having this kind of transactions?
Much, Shane, for having me. First of all, let me disabuse your mind. I have no investments in cryptocurrencies of any type. So let's just get that out of the way. But when I saw news of this directive, I was a bit concerned, but I was not surprised. I was not surprised because you have to, first of all, understand that there are many dimensions to the whole question of cryptocurrency. There are financial stability issues and concerns. There is the question of whether or not it is legal tender in Nigeria, because it is not. The central bank put out that regulation in 2017. And now it put out a new directive basically banning all deposit money banks from transacting in cryptocurrencies. But the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria, SEC, recognizes cryptocurrencies as a financial asset. And in September, they said they were going to put out a regulatory framework for them. And we know that Bitcoin and other kinds of cryptocurrencies have now become known as, quote unquote, freedom money. Because we have to go back to understand what cryptocurrencies actually are. Cryptocurrencies are virtual currencies that can be exchanged online to purchase goods and services. Their value is not determined by the value of legal tender currencies, but you will have to use legal tender currencies to purchase those cryptocurrencies, the most popular of which is Bitcoin. You need to also understand that cryptocurrencies, they don't have an underlying value. So, for example, many people would then say that they are speculative because unlike a normal currency, that currency is backed up by either foreign reserves, the productive nature of the economy of the country that owns the currency, and various other elements. But that's not what happens with cryptocurrencies. But again, we live in a world of innovation. And cryptocurrencies bypass central banks pretty much. And many countries, especially in Nigeria, which is one of the highest users of cryptocurrency in the world, Nigeria is the second biggest user of Bitcoin, Nigerians, in the world. And during the NSAS protests, these cryptocurrencies were used to support the NSAS protests when the central bank blocked the access to the accounts of people it suspected were supporting NSAS. So there is the financial stability aspect, there's the political aspect, there's the economic or private economic investment aspect of it, and there's the aspect of the business opportunities and the income it earns for a lot of Nigerians, mainly young Nigerians who trade in these instruments. So it's a very complex issue. So that's the first thing that I will tell you. So the central bank directive, you could say, well, it's legal, yes, but was it the wisest way to approach either the risks of cryptocurrencies or any other consideration that it might have had? I am not sure about that. And that's why I was worried about this response from the central bank.
So let's quickly get some meat. Let's get the facts out, the truth of this matter, some of which you've given us, the knowledge of what it's all about. From the word crypt, it means that something that is coded, secret. So that is the orientation of that market. And you talked about SEC and the central bank. Central bank has powers over Nigeria currency and Nigeria banks. But let's get some quick facts out now. You are a lawyer too, and so it helps us tonight on the program. Unbundle this for us. Has the order and directive of the central bank criminalized cryptocurrency?
I do not interpret it as criminalizing cryptocurrency. I interpret it as a directive to financial institutions under the control or under the supervisory remit of the central bank not to deal with these cryptocurrencies. Now, there are other ways, and the directive is targeted at exchanges of cryptocurrency because there are exchanges where these cryptocurrencies are exchanged. So this is what the central bank directive mainly targeted. I do not think it criminalizes individuals transacting in exchange based on cryptocurrencies in any other way, although, of course, it becomes more difficult for individuals to transact in cryptocurrencies if the exchanges where they can get them are sort of made suspect by the central bank and certainly illegal from the central bank's point of view. So it's a bit of a gray area. I don't think it criminalizes cryptocurrencies per se, but the central bank has said it's not legal tender, but they don't have to tell you and me what we can exchange for value. If I want to give you my shirt and you give me your shoe, the central bank has no business with it. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, that's what I would say to that. It makes it difficult, but it does not per se criminalize cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so it's good that we get clarity on that because anybody who trade in cryptocurrency within that sphere, if it's criminalized, then the person is no less than the Yahoo, because then the person becomes a criminal because it then falls on the issue of fraud because it's not legal in the country. Nigeria is not the only country where you have it illegal as not a legal tender. The United States allows it. Canada, in one way or the other, legalized and did not. In some parts of Central Europe, there are some countries that do not allow it as a legal tender.
Yes.
But let's look at it from your background, Prof. I mean,
Yes.
you had worked in the central bank, and perhaps it might be on the surface to look at whether good or bad this decision or directive is. But give us a sense of it. If you were in the central bank, would you have told this line, is this the best way to have handled this matter?
My answer, to be very straightforward, is no. Let me give you a little bit of a background. I was deputy governor in charge of financial system stability That is to say, I was the head of the directorate of the central bank that controls the financial system. So I was the banking regulator. If I was in the central bank today in that role, it is one of the departments under me that would have issued this directive that we saw, which came from the Banking Supervision Department. In that position, I had responsibility for the management of a banking sector that was worth 17 trillion naira at that time. Yeah, included 24 commercial banks, about 900 microfinance banks, 100 finance houses, 5 development banks, and 3,000 bureau de change. So the financial system in Nigeria, over which I superintended as deputy governor when I was there, is very significant. And so I would have been aware or conscious of the risks of cryptocurrencies. But my response as somebody who is versed in risk management will be, one, there is a reality in the world today that a lot of the world is going digital. There's a lot of innovation in the world, and cryptocurrencies are part of it. So my attitude would be, how can we best manage the risks of cryptocurrencies to ensure that they do not affect the stability of the financial system? That's what I would have done. But I would not recommend, kind of banning it outright in exchanges, because also $500 million worth of Bitcoin has been traded in Nigeria within the last 5 years. Nigeria is one of the top 10 countries in the use of cryptocurrencies in the world today. In fact, it comes in at number 8 after countries like Ukraine, Russia, South Africa, Kenya, and so on. So it's becoming a real factor in our financial system or investment ecosystem. And this is livelihoods from Nigerians. So when you take actions that look as if you are taking away opportunities from Nigerians, especially in a depressed economy. Also, one of the things that attracts Nigerians a lot to cryptocurrencies is because the central bank, and I've said this, a lot of the policy making that has come out from the bank in recent years has been a bit, ad hoc, and, changes from today to tomorrow and so on, policies concerning remittances, policies concerning foreign exchange, and so on and so forth. But trading in these cryptocurrencies, for many people, protects them from fluctuations in the value of the naira. Because every fiat money, every currency in the world, over time depreciates in value because of inflation. And this is one of the reasons a lot of people go for cryptocurrencies. They're risky, but they don't have the problem of depreciation because of inflation. In fact, between 2018 and today, in 2018, the value of one Bitcoin was about $3,000. Today, about 2.5 years later, it's $38,000 for one BTC, one Bitcoin. So this gives you a sense of what's going on. Now, does that mean that this is sustainable? No. One of the things that caused the financial crisis in 2008, in which we, again, in the central bank had to really, do some heavy lifting to save Nigeria from a crash of its financial system, was that there was a lot of trading in new financial instruments, which were very speculative. And after some time, the bubble burst. So this is why I told you that if I was still a central bank governor today, yes, I would be concerned about cryptocurrencies, but I would balance that concern with the reality, how pervasive they have become as part of economic transactions, and see best how we can manage the risks without depriving people Prof, of the livelihoods.
Yeah, apologies to cut into but if that risk, for example, is that of national security, would you have still held that same stance?
I do not support suppression of people who are peaceful demonstrators. They have human rights. So what do you call national security? Do you think national security means that Nigerians do not have rights to protest peacefully? So long as their protests are peaceful, that is guaranteed under the Constitution. So I would not, if I was a central banker, support blocking people's accounts because they were involved in peaceful protests that were legal under the Constitution. If you call that, counter-terrorism financing and all that, I would like to see the central bank investigate and show us people who are sponsoring Boko Haram financially, and let us have them put on trial. That's the real threat to Nigeria, not peaceful protesters, young people from NSAS. So this is my own perspective on it.
All right. So let's look at it again. Some experts, because again, you talked about the risk in cryptocurrency. Some will say,
yes,
every investment has risk concerns or risk factors.
Absolutely.
For example, in just few hours, Bitcoin fell from 41K to 38.5, just about 5% drop in few hours.
Yes.
Some will say it's not a currency, it's a speculative asset. So if you take that and link it to what former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said in his statement over the weekend, and take a look at it again, he said this is a wrong time to introduce policies that will restrict the inflow of capital into Nigeria. Give us a sense of the implication. Is there anything such as wrong timing in the decision of the central bank?
It's not just wrong timing. I just think that in principle, given where the world is going today, I think that Nigeria should be ahead of the curve and managing whatever risks that these types of new financial instruments throw up, rather than being seen as being reactionary, especially when that has implications for the livelihoods of many, many, many Nigerians. That's my point. Now, if you own shares in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, it could drop 20% in a day. Is that not so? So what's so special about the drop in the value of Bitcoin? So this is the point. Any investment has risks. It can rise, it can fall. So long as those risks are hedged in such a manner that they do not affect the financial system and its stability, individuals can take those risks. That's their choice. That's the way I look at it. And of course, concerning the importation of capital, I think Nigeria also should not stop the importation of capital into the country at a time we are losing a lot of such capital. There's huge capital flight from Nigeria today. Foreign investors are not coming in. So all in all, my point is this. The Nigerian government needs to make the Nigerian investment climate far more friendly, far more predictable, far more efficient than is the case today. It's one of the reasons why our economy is undergoing a lot of stress.
All right. Perhaps that is a point where we'd like to anchor. And I'd like you to touch on this matter in just about 30 seconds so that we can anchor on this matter of the cryptocurrency, especially because of the outrage that we have seen about it in the last few days. So give us a sense of what to make of the climate, investment climate under the Buhari government, vis-a-vis this policy that the CBN came out with. How would you describe the investment climate under the Buhari government and as it relates to an average citizen?
Well, the investment climate in Nigeria today is not very good. I think that's very obvious. And one of the reasons that is so is because, one, investment policies are not predictable. There is too much ad hocism in the management of the Nigerian economy. There is no deep thinking that is evident from Nigeria's economic policies today. It's just today, one policy, tomorrow, another policy, next tomorrow, another policy. Investors do not like that. And that's one of the reasons why it's not just COVID. The market, the investment environment in Nigeria is unfriendly. That's one of the reasons that foreign investment is declining hugely. In Nigeria. Now, let me just wrap up with something about this cryptocurrency. China, in 2014, they banned these cryptocurrencies. But today, their policy is a bit sophisticatedly different. Why? Let me explain. There are many countries in the world today that are now moving into the area of central banking digital currency, CBDC. These are sovereign digital currencies. So they're working on it now to see whether countries like this, like China and others that are experimenting with this, like Sweden, like Uruguay, and so on, can now have their own currencies as crypto or digital currencies that are linked to their fiat money. their normal money. So this can reduce the risks of cryptocurrencies. Nigeria should think imaginatively in areas like this, not just knee-jerk reactions all the time.
It's always a pleasure having to talk to you about issues of financial matters, legal issues, and of course, political matters sometimes. Professor Kingsley Malu, Special Envoy to the United Nations on COVID-19 financing to Africa, a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, presidential candidate into 2019 election. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight from Washington, D.C.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Let's take a break now, everyone. But before we go, let me remind you or show you, in case you did not catch it, it was something that caught a lot of people's attention over the week. And this happened last week, during the week, I should say, that chaos at the planned Kwara State APC stakeholders meeting in Ilorin, which turned violent, and chair throwing became the weaponry for the day. We understand some of the issues have now been resolved. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Now, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, recently said that the Buhari government is big on the issues of infrastructure as a means of stimulating the economy. So much is being spent, and they said much is being heard, but much of it is not being told out there to the average Nigerian. Well, something caught my attention, though, in the week when some APC leaders visited the ongoing construction work in the second Niger Bridge in the Southeast Corridor. Let me show you when they went there. Some governors of the Southeast, ministers, and some lawmakers from the Southeast said they went and inspected the construction at the second Niger Bridge. Statement made by one of the leaders, the governor of Imo State, is what I wanted to draw your attention to before we get into our conversation about the effort of the Buhari government and some of the perception. Take a listen to the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma.
That what ordinarily was looking like a dream is now a reality. Nations are built by heroes. If you go to France, as you land, you look at Charles de Gaulle Airport. You look at the train system. You will remember Charles de Gaulle. If you go to the United States, go to America, you look at the ambience. You look at the management and the environment. You look at infrastructure. You remember George Washington. If you go to Singapore, you look at the modern Singapore. Look at how things are working. The train system, transportation system, the cleanliness of the place. You remember Lim Kuan Yew. If you go to the modern Turkey, you see how modern Turkey overnight has grown from where they were, even with almost 90% Muslim population. You will not know who is a Muslim and who is a Christian. You remember Ataturk. So heroes, every country must have its own hero. Today, if you come to Nigeria, you remember that this bridge, the old bridge, is dilapidated. You will now see a modern bridge. Apart from the economic and social benefit that we will get from this project. You remember that one man approved the funding of over 366 billion naira project in the Southeast. And you see that the project is completed. You will remember President Mohamed Buhari.
It's significant, that statement out of those who spoke at that event. When I spoke with former Senate President Kano-Maradi, he told me on this program on Friday that President Buhari has done a lot, but nobody is talking about it. But the question we are asking, because when we look at the issues of policy and governance in Nigeria, it's not about how much of the project, it's how profitable and the impact on the average Nigerian. So tonight, one area we know the Buhari government has committed itself is on rail. So much have been committed, including borrowed funds. But how profitable is the rail business under this government? Tonight, we have the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for joining us tonight on the program. And let's begin the conversation, because I understand that there's supposed to be a groundbreaking ceremony of the Kano-Maradi rail line, which was supposed to happen on Monday, but it's now will happen on Tuesday. Give us a sense of this project. Many Nigerians will hear about this project and say, oh, yet another one. Where are we getting this money from, and why this project?
Let me start by thanking you for having me too, and to reply you with a question. Yet another one. Don't you want us to have infrastructure? Will be my next question. Whoever has said yet another one, is the person implying that we should not have infrastructure? You cannot oil the economy. You cannot develop the economy. You cannot grow this economy if you don't have logistics. And what the rail transportation provides for you, or road transportation or water transportation, whatever one you choose to do, is the logistics that move cargoes, not just cargoes, move human beings and all that. So the investment that the president is currently doing in the area of transportation is for us to create an opportunity for the economy to grow. There's huge unemployment. The reason why you have crime, the reason why you have insecurity is because people are unemployed. So what this rail lines will do is to enable the economy grow and assist people who want to invest in the economy to properly invest. Why Kano-Maradi? In having a conversation with some Nigerians, I had to inquire that, look, why are you avoiding the Nigerian territory in the movement of goods from the coastal area? There's a competition between the coastal states in West Africa, and they are Nigeria, Togo, Benin Republic, Ghana, and Côte d'Ivoire, and we're not doing too well. And I have said it several times that the reason why we're not doing too well is because the countries in the hinterland are afraid to use our roads. The roads are either bad, or there are criminals on the road. They think there are too many police checkpoints, and then the customs and immigration checks are also there. So they want to avoid that. And avoiding that, they use either Benin Republic, they use Togo, or they use Ghana, or Côte d'Ivoire. To be competitive, for seaports to be competitive, you need to take a mode of transportation close to them that provides them ease of transportation. In that case, for us, is the rail line. When I assumed office as the Minister for Transport, I discovered that President Goodluck Jonathan's administration had done the feasibility studies, but they had not moved forward with this project. So we picked it up and decided to move forward with it, sought approval from the president and cabinet, and it was approved. Now we're heading to the groundbreaking, which will happen on Tuesday, and construction will commence. Hopefully, we'll tend to make sure that it's completed within the period we're in government. If it's not completed within the period we're in government, then whoever takes over from us will complete it.
So, give us a sense of, because when someone heard about Maradi, that's in Niger, I've heard that the government under President Buhari has had interest in a few things that has to do with the Nigeria Republic. Is there a specific interest in that country?
The interest is national. The interest is about Nigeria. The Maradi terminal is just 20 kilometers away from Nigeria. Just 20 kilometers. So there's no huge investment that some Nigerians are thinking. What we've done is that at Maradi, you put a terminal, you put a workshop, you put a warehouse, and then the terminal will probably contain facilities that will have custom officials in there, and police, immigration, and everybody. So once they clear goods from that point, it's straight to the Lagos seaport. Just straight to Lagos seaport. In the same manner, once the goods are cleared from Lagos, it's just straight to Maradi for people to pick up their goods. Having a conversation with the Nigerian government, they are willing to go into an agreement with us to enable us move their national cargoes. Don't forget they have uranium in Niger Republic, they have gold in Niger Republic and all that. So what you're doing is providing an economic opportunity for Nigerians who would like to invest in either Niger or in Nigeria and create job opportunities for Nigerians.
In terms of Naira and Kobo, how much will this project cost Nigeria? And I understand that a larger portion of that is going to be borrowed. Where are we sourcing the money from?
The project is going to cost us $1.9 billion, and we'll source it from mostly Europe.
Do we have the money now?
I think we're about concluding.
Okay, so what is the repayment plan of the federal government? How long will it take to repay the money?
The problem I have is that most Nigerians are not able to distinguish between Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Finance. That is the responsibility of Ministry of Finance. When we pay what the terms of the agreement for the loan and all that will be the responsibility of Ministry of Finance. So that question can be directed to the Minister for Finance. For us in transportation, our job is to work with Ministry of Finance to procure the loan and commence construction. And we think we will commence construction on Tuesday.
Oh, that's great. So you've explained the reason behind extending the rail track up until Maradi. But give us, if a lot of Nigerians would like to know, the volume of trade between Niger and Nigeria, or some of those landlocked countries that are neighbors.
Well, I think, again, those are questions you don't ask transportation. You ask probably Minister of Industries. First is that there's a huge volume of trade between those landlocked countries with the coastal states, but we're not benefiting from it because we don't have necessary transportation infrastructure. What the federal government has done is to provide that infrastructure to enable us to be competitive. Our seaports are not competitive. What this government has done is to create two things. First, create rail transportation to the seaports, and at the same time, build new seaports. There are new seaports that will be built in Bonny, another one to be built in Warri, and then the Akwa Ibom State government has just gotten approval to build one at Ibom Deep Seaport also. So when you do that, you create the infrastructure that will make you competitive. We're not currently competitive with countries like Togo, with countries like Benin Republic. And I don't see why we shouldn't even put them behind us in terms of competition. But we don't have the infrastructure. I usually would remember what Fashola said in the cabinet, where he said, you were wearing the uniform you wore when you were 17, at 30 or 40. You will tear it into pieces because it will no longer be your size.
I think that, because as a Minister of Transportation... Okay. Please go ahead.
No, when you talk about the volume of trade, you have a lot of research to do in that regard. But in doing that research, we've come to the conclusion that you have enough. Just imagine the quantity of uranium that Niger Republic exports. Imagine the quantity of gold that they export. Imagine the fact that we're going to compete with other countries and we don't have the infrastructure to compete.
So, the reason why I'm asking the question is because one needs to do an analysis of what is there for Nigeria to gain in terms of trade and investment. Considering the investment that we're making, and considering the fact that we are borrowing some of these monies. And that's why I wanted to know what is prompting Nigeria to do that. But let's, and we understand now that the groundbreaking will happen on Tuesday, but give us a sense of what is happening with the Lagos-Ibadan rail line. Last year, when you were a guest on the program, you told us that it will be fully commissioned. But what is happening? What is the delay?
What delay?
The full passenger service, when is it commencing? The full passenger
it has commenced. Shegun, I live in Abuja, and I'm aware that it has commenced. You that live in Lagos, you don't know that it has commenced?
No, I'm not aware that the full... I'm talking because the last time you said you're still you're trying it out. That's what you told us the last time. But I'm talking about the full
reason why it has not been
commercial passenger transit. When will it commence?
Shehu, what you should be asking is not when will commercial activities commence. What you should be asking is when are we going to increase the number of commercial transportation activities on the track. Currently, we have about 2 or 3 listen per day, and we intend to increase it to about 16, 18 slots per day. That will happen as we manage COVID properly. The current situation in Lagos or in Nigeria is a bit bad. That's why the president was to commission it in January, but we've been able to. We've delayed it just to see what happens about COVID. But if you go by 4, I think I remember that one very well. You'll be conveyed to Ibadan. We are ready to take off completely, but we're waiting to see what happens about COVID. So we don't transport Nigerians who have COVID or COVID patients from Lagos to Ibadan or from Ibadan to Lagos. Okay,
there's one issue about this issue of the speed, which was one of the things you were quoted as saying, quote, this was from you, we are doing 90 kilometers per hour with Abuja to Kaduna. The reason we are doing 90 kilometers per hour is because there are cows everywhere and we don't want to kill cows. Is this still the situation now in the country that we're still limiting because of cows?
Sheung, we're limiting to 17 to 20 kilometers per hour between Lagos and Iju. And the reason why we're slow between Lagos, particularly Butemeta to Iju, is because human beings trade on the track. So why would the cow be an issue? Oh, but okay, if we're doing 90 kilometers to Kaduna, because of cows. We're doing 17, 20 kilometers because of human beings on the Lagos track. Don't forget that somebody died on that Lagos track because he parked his car on the track.
So what effort has been made to ensure that you clear the track? I know it's going to be a lot of work because the orientation, since the larger the tracks are or the wider you build the tracks, the more of the orientation and the culture of getting used to it. So what are the efforts that you are putting in place to ensure safety around the tracks?
We are going to fence off the Lagos track. We're going to fence it from, I think, either Butemeta or Apapa up to Iju. We'll fence it off so that human beings will limit, the human traffic will be limited. And just like we're fencing off the Kaduna track to limit animal. The problem is both animal and human traffic, which we have to manage to ensure that the locomotives don't kill human beings or kill animals that are domesticated.
Let me come back to the issue of cows, because I saw a lot of conversations around. We've not heard what the Minister of Transport, as a leader in the South, has said about this issue. What is your stand? I know it came up at cabinet meeting, but what was your position?
Position about what? What's the business of cow in the cabinet meeting?
No, I'm saying the position, you heard about the killer herders and the clashes between herders and farmers. What's your position on that? Because a lot of Nigerians want to hear about...
How does that affect transportation?
No, but you are a political leader, Chief Amechi.
I'm not a chief.
Okay, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, what's your position? Let me ask
exactly.
You now. Well, what's your position
you have
on
to
the
ask,
issue of the herders
You have to ask 200
clash?
million Nigerians their position before you get to me.
But you're a leader. That's why I'm asking you.
I lead my wife, so I will ask her, when we get home, I will tell her what my position.
Nigerians gave you the trust to be a minister of the Federal Republic. And that's the reason you're a public officer. And I'm asking you because a lot of people will look back and look at what your position was on each of this matter. And that's why I'm asking you now, what's your position on this, on how to resolve this issue of herders-farmers clash?
The Nigerian people and the president of Nigeria gave me a responsibility to superintend over transportation in Nigeria. If you ask me about that, I will respond to it.
You've given me that same. It seems you've coined some kind of answer each time we're having a conversation. That's one of the answers that you have coined recently on answering some of these questions. But I'll still come back to it in some way. But we'll come back after the break, Honorable Minister, to talk about maritime security, transportation. But I won't go off the issue of cows. because I want to get your final word on that when we return from this break. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We look at the stance of the Minister of Transport on maritime security and the way forward for Nigeria. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. A special guest on the program is the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi. I gave him a chieftaincy title, and he turned it down right here on the program. He joins us from our Abuja studio, Mr. Rotimi Amechi. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Honorable Minister. Let me get back, because I've heard and read how former Governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, called you out to say you are one of those leaders in the southern region of the country that have remained silent over this very, very critical matter that has to do with the security of Nigeria. And in your own state, Rivers State, where you are from, and in several other states, there are incidents of these killer herders who are clashing consistently with farmers and the farming community. So I wanted to know what would be your own solution in resolving this crisis.
Well, if you talk about Sule Lamido, I had a private chat with him. I told him that there is nothing new in Nigeria that I've not spoken about. Absolutely nothing new. I've spoken literally on everything. And I've gotten to the stage where I told him, I think it's his age mates that are discussing these issues. You should allow we, the younger ones, to watch our elders and stand by our elders and follow our elders according to what they say. When I was a governor, I had a general location in making conversations. But as a minister, I'm reduced to focusing on transportation and delivering on transportation. If Sule calls me out on transportation, I'll be very glad to take him on that.
Okay, because don't think I'm too persistent, but because from what we are hearing, should you become president tomorrow, what would your position be on this matter?
Until I become president now.
Because we understand that the lot might fall on you at some point.
I'm still the Minister for Transportation, and only God can tell who will be the president of Nigeria in 2023. It
seems it's difficult to get that out of you, but let's move on, since you refuse to speak on that matter. And let's get your view on the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri rail line. At what point are the plans to commence the project? Do you have funds for it now?
Again, we're almost concluding negotiation. I think I will approach the president next week to give us a date we can do the groundbreaking ceremony. I suspect that the president may approve a date for us around March. So if president gives us a date, we'll do the groundbreaking and commence construction.
Same question I would like to know about the Itakpe-Warri rail line. It has been commissioned by the president recently. As it commenced commercial operations, what is the passenger traffic like on that line?
Shehu, you're a journalist. Please, when you want to engage in this kind of interview, do your own research. It's working. We're conveying passengers from point A, Itabe, to Alaja in Warri. And I've not received any complaint yet. I don't know how. I think we started the passenger distance was very low at the beginning. It was about 100 passengers when the capacity was over 300 to 500 passengers. But now it has picked up, and I'm very happy that passengers now use it to come to Abuja or to northern part of Nigeria. But it's functioning.
All right, so that's a question that I was going to ask. Before I ask you the question, Honorable Minister, I have my facts about it. And so I know that there is a low traffic on that line. And looking at how much was invested in it. No, but that's what I'm asking. What is the traffic like now? You should have the figure, because we're talking about e-ticketing, and about 900 million, we understand, is going to be invested in that.
Not Itabe. 900 million was invested in Kaduna, Abuja. And by the way, when you hear 900 million, the way people react when you hear some of this money, first that is the investment by the private investor who is involved in Kaduna, Abuja. It is not the federal government that is investing 900 million. It's not a contract. That's what the person is putting, and hopefully that he will recover it by the number of years the contract will last.
Let's touch on the issue of maritime security and some of the stories that we are hearing about the sea piracy attacks around the Bonny local government corridor is worrying, and some of those issues are giving a lot of people within that corridor a lot of worry. What is the government doing in ensuring that lives and properties and business are safe in that corridor?
Well, you know that there's a contract of $195 million that was awarded in about 4 or 5 years now. And it's been stalled several times because of rent interest. There are so many Nigerians who do business in the water that are peddling all sorts of functions that they perform and frustrating government from asserting its authority. But I think now, with the president and the vice president chair the committee, I'm sure that latest March, April, we should have taken total control of our Nigerian water with the Navy. We've deployed some of the equipment. About 2-3 vessels have been deployed yesterday and today to begin to assist the Navy. By March, April, we should have all the equipment in the water. We have helicopters, we have fixed-wing planes, we have vessels, we have drones, and also they're all there, so that people who use our water will feel secured.
So that's one of the issues I would like to come back to, but let me get to the issue of what is being done in terms of our port, especially the Apapa port. And the volume of goods that could be transported. I understand that there's a linkage now of the Lagos Rail to the Apapa port. But the big question will be, how has it been difficult, the government of Nigeria, in clearing that corridor and making ease of business happen within that corridor? Apapa is our biggest port in this country.
I thought what he should have done was to say that the President Buhari's government is done well. We've been in this country for so many years, and they found out that none of those infrastructures were there at the seaport. Let me also tell you what's happening. We're going to approach cabinet to enable us award a contract that will connect Tinkan to Apapa, so that if you are importing through Tinkan, you can use the rail from Tinkan to Apapa, and then off you go to the hinterland in the north and all that. I thought the question would not, because if you're asking me if it's there, it's there. What you're asking me is, why was it not done all this while? We were just 6 years old in the government. I thought what you should say is that we should congratulate the President Buhari's government for their foresight and their ability to be able to construct this rail. Like you know, we're at the seaport now in Apapa, and we intend to connect Apapa to Tinkan, and the cost of business will reduce, and ease of doing business will also be enhanced. So,
give us a sense of, because I know on the issue of the Osa Okumba's Ocean Marine Services, what's the present position of government on that matter, the secure anchorage issues with Osa Okumba's Ocean Marine Services?
I don't know what you mean. First, there was no contract between us and the Ocean Marine. There was no contract at all. And when it comes to anchorage area, it's the responsibility of the Ministry of Transport with MPA. So as far as we are concerned, OMSL was illegally in our waters, because even though they had an agreement with Ministry of Transport earlier, when we came in, we cancelled. Why did we cancel? They were collecting money from every vessel that comes into Lagos, and that was increasing the cost of doing business in Nigeria. If you need to reduce the cost of items that come into Nigeria, then you must also reduce the cost of doing business in Nigeria. And that's why we sought the federal government approval to cancel whatever agreement that they had before.
So on a final note, Honorable Minister, is the profitability of all of these rails, what are your projections of monies accruable to the federal government pocket? And again, thinking about the monies the nation has borrowed to implement this project, the repayment plan.
Shehu, you need an economist to sit here. And when you talk about projection, you talk about budgeting. Shehu, you need that economist to tell you how much you project to make in how many years. Don't forget that this is real. You cannot make all the money you need to pay back that loan from rail services. I think that the Ministry of, at a point, the Ministry of Finance must intervene in the repayment of the loan. And that's the people who should address that question too. We, in the Ministry of Transportation, what we do, working in alliance with Ministry of Finance, is to seek the loan. They seek the loan, we implement the contract.
Because, I mean, the reason why I'm asking you, Honorable Minister, is the fact that when you are presenting your memo to the cabinet, you are convincing them for the reasons why it needs to be done. Not just because we wanted to construct rails. You must have convinced the president and the cabinet that this is profitable. So there must have been some projections on how much Nigeria could gain or get from these projects.
Shehun, railways are not put in Naira and Kobo. They build the economy, they grow the economy, they enable the economy grow. What railway will do for you is the ability to move. See, let me give you this figure. You move about 30 million tons of cargo per day between Lagos and Kano. Only 200,000 are put on the track in a year. That means the roads are dying. Everything about the roads. In fact, it takes Ministry of Transport 14 days to move a locomotive or a coach from Lagos to Abuja. 14 daes. Imagine the impact on the economy. Imagine the impact on business. When in 8 hours or 5 hours, I can move the same locomotive and coaches to Abuja from Lagos. Can you quantify the economic benefit that will happen? Do you know how many companies that will grow just knowing that they have capacity to move their cargo from point A to point B? Say, for instance, there is an aeroplane manufacturing company in Kano. Okay, let's not go there. We are building a factory in Kajola to produce locomotives, coaches, and wagons. Imagine how you want to move your metals. How do you move it? Those are benefits to the economy. Don't ask me Naira and Kobo, because that's not how it's done.
All right, because, Honorable Minister, some of the figures that you have pushed out tonight will douse some of the pressure that some Nigerians have when they hear these figures and how much we borrow. So I think going forward, it might be good for you to clarify some of these figures to Nigerians that this is what the implications of these projects will be, and this is how much it will help Nigerians so that we can figure it out as an average citizen. You know the figures, you collect the money, and you implement it. Honorable Minister.
Let's take the analysis. Let's take the analysis before you go. Now, there are people who live in Lagos. Do you know how much it costs them to rent a house? Do you know how much it costs them to feed their family? Do you know that sometimes these people, their families are either in Abeokuta or in Ibadan? The moment you construct this railway, do you know they can move to Ibadan with a cheaper cost of accommodation and move from Ibadan with a 6 o'clock train to come to work in Lagos and finish their work and move with a 6 p.m. train back to Ibadan? Do you know what benefit that would be? Do you know that you don't have enough land anymore in Lagos, so you can actually grow agricultural produce in Ibadan or in Abeokuta, Ogun State, and convey those goods to Lagos? All that will be the function of this railway once they begin to work.
Those are some of the figures we wanted you to push out, Honorable Minister. But because I'm the media person, you are just a public officer. So it's good that I've given you a free of charge consultancy tonight. And plus the fact that you rejected my chieftaincy title. But thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for coming tonight. I appreciate your coming. Minister for Transport.
Thank you, Shehu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And that's our show for today. Bye for now.